After trying to live peacefully with his family and his retired canine partner, former police officer Jake Rosser is dragged back into violence when a ruthless gang targets the people he loves. With a new canine partner named Argos, he digs into a dangerous drug ring and corruption, slowly confronting his own trauma while trying to survive and protect his family from overwhelming odds. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss more movie recaps like this. Now, let's dive in. A man is slammed to the ground and beaten without mercy, forced to chant prayers to Totek as two dogs are unleashed on him. The voice of Totek orders the execution of Jake, his wife, and his son. Jake begins his morning calmly, preparing breakfast and feeding his K9S. Once a respected canine officer, he now trains dogs privately alongside his retired partner, Sock. As he steps outside to fix a faulty wire, Sock insists on play, and Jake gives in, sharing a quiet moment with the dog that once saved his life. Later, Jake sits at a restaurant with his wife Mia, their young son John, and Sock resting nearby. Mia admits she finally feels at peace since Jake left the police force and now trains dogs instead of chasing criminals. The moment is shattered when Jake receives an alert on his phone warning of a fire at their home. They rush back to find smoke pouring from the oven. Jake questions Mia, but she insists she never turned it on. Suddenly, a man emerges from the shadows and attacks her. Sock lunges instantly, giving Jake time to fight back. Mia grabs their son and calls for help while Jake and the attacker crash through the house. The intruder pulls a knife, but before he can strike, Sock forces his way through the door and kills him. Police arrive to find the intruder dead. Jake checks on Sock, who is badly injured, and moves to get help. Before anything can be done, the house erupts in a violent explosion. Jake rushes back inside and is confronted with devastation. Sock and the remaining K9S are gone. The following day, Sock is honored with a military burial, recognized as a fallen soldier. Later, Jake drives to a cliff, scattering Sock's ashes into the wind. Jake argues with the insurance company over the phone, demanding compensation for the destruction of his business. They insist on CCTV footage, even after he explains the system was hacked. The call ends when Detective Thorne arrives. While training Argos, Jake commands him to attack, but the dog hesitates. Jake explains Argos witnessed the murder of his family and is still shaken. Thorne reveals the attack was targeted, not random, and warns Jake that he should recognize what kind of enemies he has made. Jake forces his way into a meeting with Detective Idalia. She threatens him with arrest for trespassing, but he knows she will not follow through. She pulls him aside and quietly reveals she knows his past. His real name is Lo, a Mexican national and former officer who disappeared with his dog for 2 days before breaking into his own home. Before she can say more, another detective interrupts, forcing Jake to hide. The detective flirts with Idalia, asks about her mother in the hospital, and gives her a card. Once alone, Idalia finds Jake hiding in her car. She promises to send him a location for a discreet meeting and warns him to park far away. Back home, Mia complains about their expensive new house and suggests returning to part-time nursing until the insurance pays out. Jake insists he will handle everything, even though he already suspects the insurance money will never come. Outside, Officer Cobb volunteers to keep watch over the house. Moments later, Jake receives Idalia's message with a meeting location. They meet at a restaurant, where Idalia reveals Jake once disrupted a massive drug operation involving powerful and corrupt figures in Los Angeles. Jake asks about the explosion, and Idalia confirms it was triggered by a timed device. She shows him a disturbing video and explains the man behind it all is feared like a demon, deeply involved in illegal dogfighting and trafficking. Idalia tells Jake that running is useless. He says he is ready for whatever comes, but she admits she is not. She shows him a photo of her mother, revealing the cartel has taken her and threatened to kill her if Idalia interferes. A man shuts the window, and cartel soldiers emerge from every corner. Jake demands to know what they want. The leader calmly says he wants Jake to shoot himself and drop the gun. Another man plays an audio recording of Mia begging for help, forcing Jake to stand in shock. The leader warns him that if he refuses, his wife and son will die. Jake raises the gun and fires at the leader, but the weapon wasn't loaded. The leader removes a bullet and explains they have been watching Jake for a long time, his house, his car, even his therapy sessions. He lays out the rules. One trigger pull frees Jake's son. The second frees his wife. The third frees Idalia. One more pull after that frees his dog. The gun is placed back in Jake's hands. Jake pulls the trigger twice. He lifts a glass of liquor, salutes Idalia in silence, and drinks. He pulls the trigger a third time. The leader orders his men to escort Idalia out, and she is dragged away. Jake prepares to pull the trigger again when loud knocking interrupts the room. The leader snaps that they are closed, shouting again when the knocking continues. In that instant, Jake fires and kills the leader. Argos lunges at another man as gunfire erupts. Jake and Argos dive for cover as bullets tear through the room. Jake commands Argos to attack, but the dog hesitates. Jake breaks cover, grabs a weapon, and finishes the leader. Jake and Argos escape the building. Jake immediately calls Officer Cobb, warning that his family may be in danger. Cobb tells him to stay where he is and promises to check the house. Jake waits anxiously until Cobb confirms that Mia and John are safe. Jake demands a video call and only relaxes once he sees them with his own eyes. As Jake drives away, his phone rings. Totek speaks calmly, saying he left Jake a gift and mentions something hanging from the rearview mirror. Sparks burst from the dashboard. The car ignites. Jake and Argos leap out seconds before the vehicle explodes behind them. Officer Beekman arrives with his weapon drawn, ordering Jake to the ground. Argos tries to defend him, but Jake calms the dog and commands him to sit. Beekman handcuffs Jake as paramedics treat the wound in his hand. Jake asks about Argos and is told the dog will be taken to animal control. When Jake asks if he is under arrest, Beekman replies that a vehicle just exploded. Jake insists he had nothing to do with it. Jake watches helplessly as Argos is loaded into a van. He struggles to stop them, but Beekman slams him to the ground and restrains him. Jake loses consciousness. He wakes in a hospital bed, handcuffed. Nurse Liz tells him he has been unconscious for 2 hours. Jake asks for water, and she steps out to get it. Alone, he reaches for his trousers. When Nurse Liz briefly returns and informs Beekman that Jake is stable, they step away again. Jake manages to pull a coin from his pocket. He slips it into the handcuff screw and begins loosening it. The coin falls. He strains, retrieves it, and continues working the screw loose. Beekman says he wants to speak privately with Jake and steps outside with Nurse Liz. In the hallway, he coldly tells her that Jake is a terrorist who detonated a bomb. When they return, Beekman dismisses her and locks the door behind them. Jake immediately asks for a lawyer, but Beekman shuts him down, saying it is not necessary. He explains that when a cartel enters a city, it always communicates with certain people, and Jake knows the police alone do not make enough money for that kind of arrangement. Beekman claims he is offering Jake a chance to do him a favor. Beekman picks up the cup of water, pours a clear liquid into it, and hands it to Jake. He calmly says that if Jake drinks it, he will simply fall asleep and never wake up. Jake refuses. Beekman leans closer and threatens that if Jake does not comply, his wife and child will be burned alive and the execution streamed online. Jake pretends to accept the cup. In one swift motion, he smashes it into Beekman's head and loops the handcuffs around his neck, strangling him. Jake frees himself, pulls on his shirt, and prepares to leave. As Beekman begins to regain consciousness, Jake strikes him again and escapes the room. In the hallway, Jake runs into Nurse Liz. He pins her gently but firmly against the wall and covers her mouth to keep her quiet. He tells her he is not a criminal and that Beekman tried to poison him. He urges her to test the water because something was added to it. Jake releases her and flees down the corridor. Still shaken, Nurse Liz returns to the room and finds Beekman lying near the door. He calls out to her, and she rushes to help. She asks if he is all right. He says he is, and asks whether she saw Jake. She tells him Jake went down the stairs. Beekman orders her to sit. He hands her the same cup of water. The moment she drinks it, dizziness overwhelms her. Beekman calmly washes the cup, throws it away, and makes a call to Totek. He admits that Jake escaped and is still alive. Totek warns him that the police are not to arrest Jake and threatens Beekman's family if he fails again. Knowing he is compromised, Beekman disposes of his weapon and calls his wife. He tells her to open a hidden drawer and retrieve a box containing $60,000 and a gun. He orders her to take their daughter, leave the country immediately, and protect themselves at all costs. Knowing that the nurse heard everything, he strangled her to death. He recovers his device from the trash bin and reconnects with Totek. Elsewhere, Argos is locked inside a cage at an animal control facility. A veterinarian notices the collar and address tag and says the dog cannot be processed without clearance. A guard threatens him and orders Argos to be tranquilized. As the doctor approaches with an electric baton, Argos snaps the bolt loose with his teeth and bursts free. In the chaos, the baton shocks the guard, and Argos escapes the building, racing through the streets in search of Jake. Jake slips into a building and sees the news playing on a television, branding him a terrorist responsible for a bombing. He quickly changes clothes, but the shop owner notices him wearing the outfit. The man starts questioning him, then looks up at the screen and recognizes Jake's face on the broadcast. Panicking, he begins to shout and reaches for his phone to call the police. Jake steps outside, only to find Beekman aiming a gun straight at him. Beekman radios the department, claiming he has apprehended the suspect, spinning a false story about Jake resisting arrest. As Beekman prepares to fire, Jake reacts first, shooting him using the prosthetic hand as cover. Jake searches for a vehicle he can use and forces open a patrol car, but it requires authorization. Calmly, he identifies himself as Officer Cobb and calls the access number, successfully unlocking the system. Beekman survives the shot due to his bulletproof vest. Moments later, Jake finishes authorizing the car and speeds away just as Beekman notices him. Totek calls Beekman and orders him to check his trunk. Inside, Beekman finds Detective Idalia bound and helpless. Totek warns him that failure is no longer an option. Jake stops at a fuel station but has no money. He enters the store, grabs tape and supplies, then approaches the clerk, Doug. Jake pulls a gun and demands that Doug activate the fuel line. Terrified, Doug complies. Beekman arrives at the station with Idalia held hostage. Doug screams. Jake vaults the counter and tells Doug to trust him, but Doug panics and runs toward Beekman for protection. Beekman shoots him instantly. Beekman explains that he is not the one speaking, that Totek is controlling him. He threatens Jake, saying his family will be killed if Jake does not surrender. Totek orders Beekman to open the trunk, retrieve a fuel container, and pour it over himself. Beekman shoots Idalia, then obeys, dousing himself in fuel. Totek commands him to ignite it. Beekman hesitates, but knowing his wife is being held hostage, he complies. Argos lunges, trying to stop him, but Beekman strikes the dog and sets himself on fire. Jake rushes to Idalia, carrying her inside. She told him that there was a tracker in his waist belt, monitoring his speech. He loads her into a car and calls for an ambulance. 2 men arrive with the ambulance and begin driving toward the hospital. Idalia tells them not to panic, identifying herself as a detective. Jake borrows a phone and calls Mia. She tells him he is on television and asks what he has done. Jake explains he has been framed and that their family is being threatened. He tells her to contact Officer Cobb. When she steps outside, she finds Cobb's severed head mounted on a spike. Jake tells her to get out immediately and orders the driver to head toward his house. Mia says her phone is beeping, but Jake hears nothing. Realizing it is a trap, he tells the driver to turn the vehicle around. Before they can escape, another car slams into them. 2 gunmen open fire, killing the ambulance crew. As bullets tear through the vehicle, Idalia begs Jake to protect her mother before she is fatally shot. Jake orders Argos to attack the shooters and return. As Jake reaches for a gun, a sniper round destroys it. Under fire, Jake helps Mia climb over a neighbor's fence, and they escape into a residential compound. A man inside one of the houses is killed instantly as Jake and Mia rush inside for cover. Jake tells Mia to hide in the bathroom beneath the sink and instructs Argos to stay with her. Jake tries to convince the homeowner's wife to flee and leave her husband's body behind, but she refuses. Jake is forced to leave her. Totek enters the house and shoots the woman. Jake strikes Totek with a heavy object. Totek removes his mask. Jake drops low, and Argos lunges, attacking him. Jake seizes the gun and fires repeatedly, killing Totek. Days later, Jake is imprisoned. Mia visits him in jail and tells him she will wait, no matter how long it takes. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more movie recaps. Thanks for watching.